So let me preface the question so if the audience sees this as a clip. If we could start a new country, which religion would be the best religion to start the country on?
Which religion would be the best religion to start a new country? This is a really, really good question, because on the one hand, no religion has a monopoly on democracy. The idea that democracy fits better with like Christianity than it does with Islam is demonstrably false. But the one big advantage of Christianity is that it has fully and completely married itself to capitalism. And so if you were going to start a country that required economic success, capitalism is the right way to do it. So I would say, yeah, probably some kind of Protestant version of Christianity would be a great start. But I will say one thing. Democracy, true liberal democracy, isn't dependent on secularism. Secularism does not a democracy make. Pluralism is what makes democracy. The whole point of a democracy is that individuals get to vote on things based on their own personal ideas and beliefs. And whether you like it or not, for the vast majority of humans on Earth, their personal beliefs and identities are enwrapped around religious identity. So to say that religion should not have a role to play in democracy means that there's no democracy. That's what that means. The question is, can you have the proper safeguards in place to make sure that people who do not adhere to that majority religion or to religion at all are equally protected from having their rights infringed upon by the religion of the majority? That's what the United States was supposed to be with the anti-establishment clause. But we are 350 million people, of which 150 million of us are right-wing evangelical Christians who believe that the country is a Christian nation and should be based on Christian principles and laws, and that non-Christians would have a sort of secondary role, as second-class citizens in that kind of country. Well, that's legit. That's like half the country. That's a serious threat. So all religion can threaten democratic institutions. But if I were to start all over again and it had to be founded on a religious tradition, I think I'd probably pick Protestant Christianity.
So in other words, you're a capitalist Protestant who chooses to argue socialist Muslim. What a strange life.
That's about right.
So listen, man, the way I want everything to be is a Protestant capitalist, because it makes me
wrapped in a contradiction.
But do you know? First of all, I appreciate you for being honest, because you could have taken that and manipulated it and taken many different angles to kind of make the argument better for you. But you took the argument and just straight up said what would make you feel safer. Why didn't you say Muslim? Why not start a country and it being based on Islam, Muslim being the original foundations of the country?
Again, so Islam's, right? There are multiple.
And a socialist. Why not create a country based on, like the Judeo-Christian? No, we're going to be Muslim. We're going to follow Prophet Muhammad. We're going to have a socialist nation. Why don't you start a nation based on that?
I would also excise the phrase Judeo-Christian from your language right away. That's a bullshit phrase invented by white Protestants.
It upsets you.
In order to bring Jews into the fold. No Jew uses the term Judeo-Christian. And the contradiction between those terms is hilarious. The whole point of Christianity is that there's no more need for Judaism because one Jew said so. So it's just Judeo-Christian is just this bizarre fake term to basically mean white. That's what it means. It means white. Stop using it.
You just triggered my friend over here.
Wait, what was the question? I'm sorry.
So
Yeah,
you know how
I got triggered,
you know how
and then I was
America is built on a Judeo-Christian. Okay, why not start your country where you
America
say
is built on Protestantism.
okay,
Let's be very, very
Quran,
clear.
Prophet Muhammad,
Actually,
and
that's
socialism?
Tell me.
No, when you go back and take a look, basically the founding fathers were deists more than anything else.
Deism is a form of Protestantism. Deism is Protestantism. That's what it is.
I think if you want it to be, it can be. If it helps your argument, it can be. But when you hear people saying, well, go take a look at the things that are at the Lincoln Memorial and the Jefferson Memorial, and I've heard that over and over and over again in various speakers who are Christian pastors, there are no scriptures carved in those things. There are none. And as a matter of fact, it was Thomas Jefferson who built, and as a scholar you probably know this, the Virginia Religious Clause, where he listed everybody, and he used the word infidels because he thought that all people should be protected in America to have the freedom of expression. But these were deists that applied certain things. And if you look at Jefferson, goes back to France before he gets his writings. Hamilton came from frickin' St. Croix, right? But all of these come together with deism that may have been influenced by Christianity, but first and foremost, they were deists, not Protestant pastors.
But no, they're not pastors. They're not religious scholars.
Nor were they Protestant scholars.
But they weren't Protestant scholars. They weren't scholars at all. But what this argument that you hear all the time that the founding fathers were deists is absolutely correct. And deism is a movement that arises out of Protestantism. The primary purpose of Protestantism is to say that we don't need an institution to interpret the scripture for us. We can interpret it on our own. That means we value the scripture. We don't think the scripture is false or unnecessary. It's just that I don't need an intermediary between me and the scripture to tell you what it means. Hence, Thomas Jefferson pulled out his scissors and said, I don't like this verse, and he just cut it out. I don't like this section, and he cut it out. Deism isn't some brand new religion invented by the founding fathers. It is a natural progression from Protestantism in its thousands of sects, from Quakers to Shakers to Methodists to Baptists. Deists were just one of the many interpretations that arose out of Protestantism.
We can move on and disagree because deism has its roots in basically all men seek. That when you find Native Americans that they encountered when they first came here, they said, isn't it interesting that the Iroquois seem to seek this creator, this God, and sometimes it's Ra, the sun god of the Egyptians, sometimes it's other things. Deism, I thought, had its roots in all men seek, not in its, and recognizing men, meaning all civilizations, all living humans, ultimately are seeking. Isn't it interesting when we encounter them that they have their way of seeking this thing, this creator, whatever they want to call it?
We can move on, Tom. Yeah. We can move on, Tom. So going back to it. So if America is a Judeo-Christian nation, okay, I'm going to keep saying that to you because, okay, Netanyahu says the same thing, but okay, you.
Oh, good.
Okay,
let's quote a religious fascist. That's a great idea.
So for you, why not start a country based on the Quran, following Prophet Muhammad, and socialism?
Well, I think like I said, it was the issue of capitalism that I think is the big. So
you're a capitalist.
I mean, we're all capitalists, man. Look at you. You're a capitalist. We're all capitalists.
I'm a proud capitalist. I don't know if you're a proud capitalist. I will go.
I'm a moral capitalist. I do not believe in the invisible hand of the free market, if that's what you're asking. I don't worship the invisible hand.
I don't know the
market
difference between a capitalist and a moral capitalist. You're talking criminals. That's what you're talking about. I mean, I'm with you. It's like saying I believe when people say I don't believe in what do you call pedophilia within the churches? Well, you think I believe in that? So of course I support moral capitalism.
No, but I bet,
so you're a capitalist.
No,
That's
but
good to see.
I bet that you have a almost religious-like faith in the power of the free market to set its own agendas and regulations and limitations, and that if you just leave it alone it will take care of. It'll take care.
I
of
used
things.
to until I studied China. Okay, I used to
that's-
until I studied China
yeah,
because when I studied China and I realized in the 80s they only had 4 law schools and it was a dog-eat-dog type of an environment, you start realizing you need law and order and some regulation. It's the over-regulation I have a challenge with, where the bigger companies use lobbyists and politicians that are broke to buy them to create laws to make it tougher
That's
for the
corruption,
smaller guy to compete with them. That's the problem I have with just
So I
crony
guess
capitalism.
that's what I would say.
So you're a
although,
capitalist, so that's
you know,
good.
I will say the one thing that I've always
Reza,
really
Twitter's going to
admired-
trend today saying Reza Aslan said he's a hardcore
Yeah,
capitalist.
exactly.
A moral
I'm
capitalist.
no longer on Twitter, so I couldn't give a shit.
Why are you no longer on Twitter?
I deactivated all of my social media accounts as
As
part
of
of
when?
my
Oh,
kind
it's
of
by your
New
choice.
Year's.
So you're not in the penalty box or something.
No, it was part of my my New Year's resolution to my wife.
As
Although
of
I did
4
it in
days
November.
ago?
No,
As of
I actually
when?
I did it early. I did it in November. I went a little bit early. As soon as Musk was like, "I'm letting Trump back on," I was like, well, "All right, that's enough for me." So I
Was that the trigger point?
I was gonna do it January 1st as part of my New Year's resolution, but I was like, "Fuck it, I'll do it November 19th
Do
instead."
you believe that? I know we're going off topic here, but
I'm not
since
going
you
to get
brought
the
it up-
questions answered.
No,
today.
we're gonna
I
get
swear
there,
to
I
God, I got
promise.
30 minutes left.
promise.
You guys keep taking things different direction.
But you constantly hear.
My fault.
This is the third time, by
my
the way, I'm
fault.
trying to
It's
get
my
the
fault.
questions answered.
It's my
Yeah, well, he brought it up, so.
No, all he
So wait
said
a
is
minute.
Twitter, then you went with a question.
About Twitter.
one more
Here, hold on,
question.
Tom. Here it
One
is.
more
Do
There's
question.
no
you
way
believe,
in the world.
Do you believe
This will be
that
short. This
Mario-
will be really short.
the Ayatollah of Iran should be on Twitter, but Donald Trump should not?
I don't think the Ayatollah of Iran should be on Twitter. No.
But he is.
Yeah.
Trump was off.
Well, again, Trump is an insurrectionist who tried to destroy American democracy and uses his Twitter to actively promote violence. Actively promote violence against his enemies. There's no room on Twitter for someone like that.
Doesn't the Ayatollah do the same thing but much worse?
Well, the Ayatollah's on Twitter in charge of a fascist, a religious fascist regime that murders children and uses his Twitter account in order to promote propaganda and lies about what he's doing. Well, he doesn't belong on Twitter either.
Yeah, why would he still be on them?
Actually, fuck no. I don't think he should be on
guys,
either.
I think it's very important to realize, like where he's at. He's saying neither should be on. His position. It's better to ask why do you not believe both should be on than why Khomeini's on. So
I don't know.
go back to your question. So I'm gonna stay on this question, guys. Go ahead, because I got 30 minutes before I get on my Max 7 call. So, okay, so why not start a country based on
right.
socialism, Muslim, Book of Quran?
I will say the one thing that I do, I'm fascinated by Islamic finance, right? This idea, and Jewish finance is the same way, that the prohibition against interest and usury, that there are ways to do that and there have been a number of very successful ways of doing this, where the way that it works is that instead of loaning someone money to start a business, you invest in that business. And so there isn't any interest that you're owed, but you are owed dividends from the business. That's how most Islamic financing things work. And the idea there being that, hey, we're all in this together. It's not like I loaned you $100,000, your business collapsed. Too bad, where's my money? But like most things, it has been absolutely infected by Western capitalism, so that you can say we're not charging interest and so therefore staying Islamically compliant, but this investment comes with fees that are essentially interest and that make it very, very difficult for these small businesses to actually function. If you want to start I took your question very, very literally. Like, I'm starting a country from scratch, right? Which requires an enormous amount of economic stability and buildup. How would I do that? Well, I would need capitalism, and Islam is not exactly conducive to capitalism, neither is Judaism. But Protestantism, it's not just conducive to capitalism, it is capitalism, radical individualism. You have been in not all Protestantism, but like in Calvinist, evangelical, Presbyterian, Protestantism, you've already been predestined. You've been prejudged to be successful. If you have money, it's because God likes you. That's why. If you don't have money, it's, well, you should really look at yourself and figure out why. Those are, immoral ways of thinking about money. But if I'm starting a country from scratch, right, and I want this thing to last, yeah, I'd probably start with a good dose of Protestantism.
How about now that everything's established, raising your kids? You got 3 sons, okay?
3 sons and a daughter. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you have a daughter. Okay. It only says 3 sons. You got to update it.
Yeah,
it only says 3
yeah,
sons.
like pandemic, baby. Yeah.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
We also have 4 kids, two. But going back to it, now that you have the kids, it's different to start versus where you want to be once you have a family.
Yeah.
Why not raise your family, your kids in a Muslim nation rather than in a U.S.? You have a choice right now, just like your mom and dad chose to say, let's get out of here. Let's go to a different place. I know your wife's a Christian, so you could say, well, my wife is a Christian, so it'd be tough to go to a different place. But why choose to raise your kids in a Judeo-Christian country like America? Why do that to yourself? Why put yourself out of your misery? Just go to a different place. Go to Indonesia. Why be here?
Well, first of all, I don't know if I would think about it in those terms about raising them in a Christian country as opposed to a Muslim country as opposed to a Jewish country.
Yeah.
What I do is I raise them to be multi-literate in all the languages, all the religious languages of the world. My kids understand both at a spiritual level and at an intellectual level that religion is a language made up of symbols and metaphors that is communicating very similar sentiments. What matters is the sentiment. I want you to be spiritual. I want you to know that there is more to life than just what you feel or smell or taste or see, that there is more, and that you can access that thing. You can strive for transcendence and use your own means of doing it. Find out what's most comfortable for you. One of my sons a few years ago, after a very raucous Rosh Hashanah celebration, just flat out declared himself Jewish. Was like, this is fun. This is way more fun than anything else that I've done. I want to be Jewish now.
At a Rosh Hashanah celebration?
Yeah.
I've been to many Rosh Hashanah celebrations. I've never been like, this is the best party I've ever been to.
Come to the
all
West
the
Hollywood.
apples and honey you could eat.
Come to West Hollywood.
Spin the dreidel, buddy.
He said it was a raucous one.
It was a raucous, yeah. West Hollywood, West Hollywood.
Wow.
And we
Latkes for everyone.
A couple of years ago, we went to Israel as a family, and the whole time he was like, my people. I'm amongst my people. I have another son who has, I bought him a kid's version of the Ramayana, which just blew his mind. The idea that God can exist in multiple avatars, and that each avatar has a different thing to it, like this, for strength and for wisdom and for power, like that. So Hinduism, he's all about Hinduism right now. I mean, he radically believes in reincarnation, radically believes in karma. I have another boy who I'm pretty sure is the reincarnated Buddha, but that's a whole different story. And we go to mosque, we go to church, we go to synagogue. We took our kids on an 80-day journey around the world. Literally, we circled the globe in 80 days and went to ancient religious places, modern religious places.
It's great.
What's very important, if you want to raise spiritual kids who aren't religious fanatics, teach them about all religions. They have the ability, in a way that adults whose minds are fixated, to differentiate between the external aspects of a religion and the internal
Confuse
aspects.
the hell out of them is your approach. Like,
On the contrary, it confuses adults. It makes perfect sense to kids. It makes perfect sense to a 10-year-old.
what kind of school do your kids go to? What kind of school do your kids go to?
They go to a nice private school.
But no, like, is it a Christian? Is it
No,
Catholic?
no.
Is it a,
No, it's a
nothing? Secular.
school,
So
yeah,
okay, got it.
A 10-year-old can understand intuitively that the rabbi and the imam and the priest are saying the same thing. They're just using different symbols. And the symbols even look kind of familiar. It's we right here, who can't figure that out. Like, what do you mean? Like, they're different religions. They say different things. They have different ideas. They read different scriptures. And, It's like,
But are they saying the same thing though? Because, like, I guess my question is like, can all religions be correct, or can only one be the correct religion?
remove the idea of correct and incorrect, right and wrong when talking about religion. They are signposts. All religions are signposts. To say that Christianity is more correct than Islam is to say that French is more correct than German. What the hell are you talking about? It's the thing that you are expressing. Whether you say it in German or whether you say it in French doesn't make it any more correct.
You're saying it's a means to an end, and the end
It's
is
a
where
means to an end.
Okay.
Religion is not an independent phenomenon. Religion is an amalgamation, a collection, a system of ways of thinking about the world, many of which has been constructed over thousands of years and often very sort of under control, right, by institutions. This is what it means and it can't mean anything else.
Yeah, but I think that's the problem, is that nobody interprets it like that. Like, that's actually a great way of looking at it, whether it's like how you use the example of, I'd rather dig 1 6-foot well to reach the water versus 6 1-foot wells. I can appreciate that.
Here's what I would say is you think that nobody interprets it that way because people are not as conscious of it. 2/3 of American Catholics believe or disagree with the Catholic Church when it comes to abortion and LGBTQ rights, but they call themselves Catholic. But wait a minute, abortion, LGBTQ, those are like fairly set things in the Catholic Church. It's like, you believe this if you want to be with us. Well, I want to be with you, but I don't believe those things. And there's no contradiction there. They don't stay up all night thinking about these things. They don't write books about it. They don't come on podcasts and talk about what that actually means for 2 hours. It just is. And that's true for all religious people. I think a lot of unreligious people outside of religion, you know, the Dawkins and the Harrises and the Hitchens, believe that religious people are like automatons, right? They're like the old-fashioned, IBM computers, right? You remember the little sheet with the dots on it and stuff? That's what Scripture is. That it's like we're an automaton, and the Scripture is the program. And the Scripture, you read the Scripture, and it goes boop 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 boop, and you do the thing in the Scripture. That's not how it works, man. That's not how it works. Scripture without interpretation is just words on a page. It requires an individual to encounter it for it to have any meaning at all. And by definition, the minute an individual encounters that Scripture, it goes through the filter of his entire experience, his entire identity, and it comes out different on the other side. That's why two people can go to the exact same Scripture and walk away with two radically different points of view in American history. Not 2 centuries ago, both slave owners and abolitionists not only used the same Scripture in order to justify their viewpoints, they used the same exact verses.
Right.
That's what Scripture is.
You know, I got to tell you. So a couple things. Very interesting point. I agree. Somebody can go watch a movie and have. Yesterday I was telling the kids, I said, hey, how is it that both of you guys have the same parents, yet you're two completely opposite people, right? There's the same things being taught. You're taking two different messaging. There's a part of that that's correct.
I have twins, so yeah.
But there's a part of it as well as on how it's being taught, messaging, received, all of that. Part of it is on the person's individual personality. You know, the reason why I asked that question about, countries starting, all that other stuff, sometimes we spend time debating things that is just purely opinion. Here's what I think. Here's what I believe. Here's what I think. I think that story, there's only one time. Paul said this, and to Paul, Jesus is this. And let me tell you, Prophet Muhammad and this, and marriage and slaves and blah, 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 blah. Great, got it. You can debate that all you want as scholars, all that stuff. And then you go to what produces results, what provides the most important letter for a mother's interest when raising kids, the S word, which is security, safety, a country that provides that. They want to live there.
Yeah.
And then for somebody that's hardworking to be able to build a life that they want to build, whatever that life may be. And then for someone to say, hey, I don't want the guy to be able to bully me. Hey, this guy's bigger than me. I don't want him to come and take advantage of me. Can I be protected by the law so a guy cannot bully me? So we need some laws. And then, hey, the other countries that are attacking us, can we have a decent military so people just don't want to fight us? Let's not have a military to kill people. Let's have a military that prevents others from wanting to fight us. And then at the same time, allow me to have whatever religion and beliefs that I have. Leave me alone. If I'm a Muslim, leave me alone. If I'm this, leave me alone. Like some people say, Khamenei should be on Twitter and Trump should be on Twitter. Your argument is a argument of, no, I think both of them should be off of Twitter. My argument may be, I think both of them should be on Twitter for somebody to be able to make a decision and say, I can't even believe what Trump just said. I can't believe what Khamenei just said. I can't believe what Putin just said. Now, there are some that are inciting, let's go kill, let's go do this. That's a different story. You're breaking the law that we're talking about.